Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Good evening. How are you today? What is going on in your lives, huh? Let me know. Hey. Okay, so today I want to delve into the second part of our city management new functionality, and try to go on this side, right? Try to go on this side. So we did the ranking. We didn't yet publish the ranking on the main page, but it's okay. I mean, it's not something that really is really urgent, right? But anyway, we have the ranking capability. This part kind of works. This part at the bottom, I don't know if it's really working fully. We have to test it more, but for now seems to be reasonable. I would like to think a bit about this left side, right? And see how we can organize it. In terms of tables, I already did a bit because actually we have, if we look here, right, we have asset definition, asset resource definition, asset storage, asset resource storage. So this part is a bit more complex, right? Because actually we may have a number of assets pointing to a base stat item that can actually be built, right? And each of these items has a number of resources connected to it, and then we may have the storage. Now, the only thing, I don't want to do the same mistake that I did for the resource tiers, right? So what we did with the resource tiers, I had the storage actually separate on another table, and then I decided to put it in the same table. So I need to think about this, right? I need to think if I want to do the same or not, and probably the answer is yes. But let me think about it a second. So the change would be to basically have this storage in this table and delete this table, right? What is the advantage and what is the disadvantage? I think the advantage of keeping it separate, as you can see here, is that we have the storage by city, while we have the asset definition by, I mean, generic, right? So you don't say which assets are available in which city, which I don't know if is a mistake though. I think we may expand it in the future, but in theory it would be kind of cool to have different objects for every city. That's a very big question. That's a very big question. Do I want the assets to be different from city to city? That would be kind of cool. I think that would be kind of cool, actually. The only problem is, so for example, imagine at the beginning, right? At the beginning of the beginning, we have only 1 or 2 assets per city. And I think if they are different, it will start to make kind of a sense, right, for the people to actually travel between cities to actually generate those assets. If I make all the assets the same, then the interest on traveling of to different cities goes to 0, right? So I think it would be very nice, yes. The only question is, if we want to have it applicable by city, do we need another table that actually connects my city asset definition to the cities that is applicable, right? Because in theory I could put it here, but it becomes very messy. So in theory I need another table just managing the association between the city and the asset. I think we need that. I think we need that. The other thing that I'm not completely sure is if I want to have the assets, like for example here, right? Here what we are saying that I can have a storage of 10 barricades, right? There is like 10 barricades. Yes. While this is saying in this city, for that particular asset, we have stored 20 iron ore, right? So is the actual storage of the assets needed to build something, right? Yes. Okay, so I think that I'm trying to understand where I want to go with this, but I think what we are saying is that we need another table that is basically the mapping between, I can call it really city asset mapping, right? So it basically says which assets are available for this city. Which assets are available for this city? And this one will be very simple. Will just be 2 columns pretty much, right? City ID and asset ID, right? So we don't need this. Yeah. So to summarize, right? This table is telling me which assets are there. I mean, which assets are defined. This is the definition table of the asset. So for example, I can define a trap, a specific trap. I can define. Now, the only question is why I need this table Why I need this table if I can just use item stats? Well, I need this table because in theory the asset name, right? The asset name is, it could be the same as the one that we have in item stats ID, so I don't even understand why I need an asset name actually. Because for example, the high walls, right? We can say, oh, you can build an high wall, right, in the city, and you just have to provide the materials and the city is building it for you, right? Oh my god, I just had an idea to connect the left to the right in terms of prerequisite for certain items. Oh my god. Huh. 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 Do you think we should do it? Hello, Ula. I have seen you have expanded your basic idea. There are no more tribes who attacks. No, the tribes could still be there, but we are working on the right side, right? This side of the. So we did this piece on the left. We did this piece in the middle. We did the ranking at the top, right? We did the ranking. I mean, it's not complete, but we basically did this, right? And now what I'm working on this piece, right? To understand how we can build it, right? And what I'm thinking, right, is that we may connect, and I think it's a great idea. I mean, like simple, but we may connect, you know, some of these areas, mainly I would say infrastructure, crafting, and education, right, to these areas here. So if you are at level 0, you cannot build these structures, right? That would be very cool. So we are basically remaking civilization, guys. We are rebuilding civilization inside Plane Shift, one piece at a time. So what I'm thinking to have here the city ID, right? The asset ID, but then also the category and the tier. Let me think about it, because it is the foundation. This is the foundation, and we have to do it right, right? We have to do it right. We cannot do it wrong. Well, we can always rework it like we did yesterday, but I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. It's a bit complex to manage at the end because, but you know, we can start with one asset, right? We can start with one. We don't have to have, you know, 50 different assets. We can start with one, right? One for every city. So for example, let's do a very simple example, right? Very simple example. We say, I think I can delete this. Oh, wow. We say, let's make an example, right? Idler, right? Crafting tier 1, right? Enables barricades, well, or ballista, enables ballista tier 1, right? O já verá. Crafting now. The problem is that it's all crafting, right? But anyway. Crafting tier 1 enables trap type 1, right? Yes. This is exactly how it should be. This is exactly how it should be, my boys. It's perfect. It's fantastic. This is how we need it. Now let me think. I don't understand why I have asset name and description in here, right? Because in theory, the item stats ID already has a specific category, a specific name, a specific description, weight, I mean everything, right? Everything. So why I need another name? I just take it from item stats, right? Now, if I want, I can, just for sake of simplification, whenever I load it, I load the name already and I load the description already in the struct, right? But not in the database. Exactly. So these two columns actually are loaded by these two columns are only in the struct, right? Just for ease of manipulation, right? But they are not in the database, right? They are taken from item stats ID. Because actually this was the database layout, right? So in theory, okay, I think to me it looks like a good plan. I don't know what you think, if you have any suggestions, but it seems to be a good plan. So we need to change few things here. We need to change so asset definition. It doesn't have name, it doesn't have description, because we keep it only for And the key could be asset ID and category, no? Can one asset be multiple categories? No. Okay, so asset definition is updated. Asset storage, I think, is exactly as it was. So it's 3 columns: CT, asset ID, and storage. CT asset resource definition is asset ID, item stats, and need. CT asset resource storage is CT ID, asset ID, item status ID, and storage. Okay. And CT asset storage is CT ID asset storage. Okay, I don't know if I like really the name, because here is storage. In one case is a resource storage, in the other case is an asset storage, right? So it's a bit confusing. I think we call it storage all the time. Can we call it quantity? Yeah, let's call it quantity. I think it's more understandable. Let's call it quantity. Let's call it quantity. So these are how many are actually available, right? That is in asset storage. This storage should be called quantity. Yeah. Okay. I mean, we will still make some changes to this table, so I don't think it's final, but okay. And then we add a new table, right? We add a new table. No, how do I add a new table? New table. And this one is CT asset mapping. This keeps track, or defines, not keeps track, really defines which assets can be built in which city. Yeah. And so we have city ID, we have city ID, non-null and integer. Yep. Asset ID, non-null and integer. Yes. Category, non-null and integer. The default, I don't know, city can be -1, asset can be -1, category can be 1, and then tier. And then tier. Now, if I put a tier at 0, means it is available immediately, but I don't think we will do that. Well, I don't know, maybe. But I see the right side as an expansion of the left, right? So you can build it only if the city is in a certain status. The concept is evolving, boys. The concept is evolving. This thing is becoming something. This thing is becoming something real. Okay. So now the problem are all the definitions, right? Because by the way, let me delete this because we decided that that is correct as we as we built it. There was also another part. There was a lot of commented stuff. No, I just move it down. There was this one, but this one, let me leave it there for a second because I think I still have few dubs on that. I still have few dubs, but it's fine. Okay. Okay. So here we need all the new structure, right? So we need a city asset definition, which is very similar to what? It's very similar to city resource tiers, maybe. Which, by the way, is not called that way here. It's called city resource need by tier. But fine. So this will be city asset definition. Assets. Asset definitions usable by cities. City asset def. Do you want to call it def or just want to call it city asset? No, I just want to call it city asset, right? I think the database name, the database. What? The database table name, I think, makes sense that it's called def because you can easily separate it from the others. So here we have here we don't have the city. We have asset ID. Why don't even have the asset ID here? It's kind of strange, huh? Anyway, asset ID, asset category, which actually is this, right? Because here we put also the army, siege and magic, yes. So it's actually the same type. And then we have the pointer to the item stats ID, which in this case is this, yes. And then I would say, just for sake of simplicity, because we will send it to the client, I think it's a good idea to have the item name, to have the icon image already included here, and to have the description, right? I don't know if I really want the description to be, but I think yes, because the description needs to appear on the client anyway. So yeah, I think we need this. I think we need this. Okay, so this basically completes this table, right? Now I need to store it. Now I need to store it. This has city, asset, and quantity. We can just copy this one. I mean, there's nothing similar, so. There is nothing like that. So this is the storage. Now let's say quantity of assets in a city. And it is called city asset storage. Okay. It's called city asset storage. And this one has the city ID, the asset ID. Now the city, we just put directly the city pointer, right? I don't think there is any need of the ID because we derive it from there. So then we have the asset ID. Now the asset ID I think can be directly my can be directly a pointer to my FPS city asset, right? Right. Which is the table we just declared above, right? Because this cannot be. Yeah, true. Yeah, this doesn't go into the blueprints. I mean, we will have anyway somehow to send the quantity, right? But I think we will put it. Let me think about it. Should we just put a quantity here so that when we send it out, we category name icon. Yeah, probably we will have the quantity here because we will load it directly, right? When we send it to the client, we can send it with a quantity. Yeah, so basically the C++ structure is a bit different than the database, right? Because database is kind of static and this is what we require to be sent out. So I think we put the quantity here. And so in this one we never send it, right? This one we never send it. Wait a second. If we never send it, yeah, we will group this by city. We will group this by city. Yeah, I think so. Is it okay that I put the quantity here or not? Is it okay that I put the quantity there? Because if I do it, right, then this structure becomes just an internal structure. While I wanted this to be a real structure. What I mean is that nothing of this is needed, right? So here what I'm saying, hey, this city is storing that many barricades, right? This is what I'm saying with this structure. This city is storing that many barricades. But in reality, right, if I take this structure and I put it inside my city info, right, as a pointer to that, an array pointer to that, then I have everything, right? I can also do a tmap by category. And so then if I do that, probably I don't need Yeah, I think so. I think it's better actually. I think I can do this, boys. I can avoid this. Do I want to have the asset ID anyway sent to the client so that yeah, I think the asset ID is needed anyway, right? So we can have the pointer to the asset directly in this. Oh no, sorry, this is me. Sorry. No, I didn't want to do this. I wanted to say that we will have in the city, right, a pointer to this, right? It is what I wanted to say. Yeah. So this is the list of assets owned by the city, and this one will go in the city definition. So it will go here. Right? And so if that is true, and the asset as the quantity by city, then I don't need distract anymore, right? Yeah. Now I cannot do this on the database because in the database I don't have that by city, and doing it by city will create so basically will mean to add here to add here the city and the quantity. But I don't want to do that because I want to allocate it through this mapping table. So these are all the available assets. Yeah, exactly. So basically we load it from the database one way, and then we use it at runtime in a different way because we can use array of variable a member of the class, which is an array pointing to my city asset. Okay, fine. I think it's okay. So there are two problems though, that I need to know the possible assets and the current storage assets, right? But I can decide that based on the quantity. Or if I really want, I can create two arrays, right? One for, but I think one array only is also fine. One array only is fine, yeah, potentially. Yeah, we still need to validate all this theory, yeah, because my brain cannot really think 10 chess moves ahead, unfortunately. So I have to go a bit step by step, so bear with me. But the only thing that is strange is that I'm thinking if I want to have this, but I don't know. I'm thinking if I want to have this, right? So where I already split my assets by category so that I can load them easier on the client, right? Again, we are not speaking of hundreds of assets. I mean, a city maybe will have 10 or so, but so which means that this category goes goes here. I think it's not a bad idea. So what does it mean? It means that we can use the... Can we use this directly instead of int or no? In the T map? Can the T map use an enumeration? I think it can, right? So yeah. Okay, let's try to do it this way. I cannot think if there are any drawbacks, but basically the advantage of doing it this way is that when we load them, we have them already pre-separated in different buckets by category, right? And so it's a bit easier then to read and to display. Now the drawback of that is that when we add a new asset, we will have to put it in the right category bucket. Yeah, but I think it's anyway an advantage because I'm basically simplifying the structure, right? I'm branching it more, and so it's easier to navigate. Now again, if there are only 10 assets, I think it's not. Is maybe is maybe overdone, right? Is maybe overdone. Is it overdone? Because at the end it's just a matter of, you know, cycling through this array and then presenting the data in each category, right? So it's not really a big deal. Yeah, maybe he's overdoing it. Maybe he's overdoing it. Maybe he's overdoing it. Okay, fine. Now, the only problem of putting the quantity inside the city asset means that I cannot have the definition. I mean, I cannot have a clean definition. I mean, I will have to create a new city asset, right? A new city asset for each city, while in theory, all this definition is identical. And only the quantity is separate, right? So in theory, the quantity is a property of the city, is not a property of the asset. Yeah. Which is why I have, yeah, exactly. Which is why I have this city asset storage, right? As a separate element. Yeah. No, I think it's probably better to keep it separate. Otherwise I will have to do a new of those items every time and I cannot reuse the pointer. It's a bit of a shitty idea, actually. I mean, it depends if we want to send it. I mean, it depends if this structure is used to be sent to the client. Then we need the quantity. But if it's used to store... So I will basically have to recreate this structure by city with a quantity in it. I will have to recreate this structure by city with a quantity. Yeah, exactly. Because there are two moments. There is the moment where you load from the database, you manage it on the server side, you define which assets, load to the city and all of that. And then there is the moment where you send it to the client for visualization. And when you send it to the client to visualization, it's easier if you already have the asset with a quantity in a blueprint type structure, right? So So here I'm trying to cheat and say, can we use the same structure for both purposes if I just add the quantity here at the bottom, right? But I guess in any case, we will have to do a for loop, cycle on all the items, understand the quantity, recreate the structure, and send it to the client. So no matter what I do, that operation is needed, or is needed when I send it to the client, or is needed when I build this structure by CT. And every time the quantity changes, right? There is a bit the annoyance part that I think if I remove the quantity from there, I can probably create a simpler structure, which is just, yeah, pretty much like so if we do this, right? If we do this, and we have the point, I don't know if I want to have the asset ID or I want to have the pointer to the asset. But if I have the pointer to the asset, again, that is something that is not manageable in RPC messages, right? So I can keep both. I can keep both actually. And so basically I will use this structure by CT. So the CT has a list of assets and he has the asset quantity. And you may say, why the hell you don't put it together? I don't put it together because if I put it together, I cannot use anymore the pointer, right? Because the pointer is a generic asset and it doesn't have the quantity. And the quantity is only, so I will basically have to replicate the whole set of parameters just for adding, just here to add the quantity. So I don't think it's a good idea. No? Or is it the same that I create the I say new FPS CT asset and then I set also the quantity and I associate it to the CT. But then when I have to send it to the client, I will have any way to get rid of the pointer, right? So we need to recreate, we need to, like here, for example, for the ranking, we just avoided the pointer. But the reason is that the ranking doesn't have a basic definition, while this one has a basic definition. Yeah, I think this is the right way. I think it is the right way, and by the way, I don't even think that this should be a pointer, in the sense that we can probably just send this structure straight away, because it's only two things, right, that we are sending. So it's extremely minimal. It's two integers, right? is 2 integers. So I think that this can probably be sent as is. I don't know if I want to send it together with the city. No, I don't want to send it together with the city. I want to send it only, I want to send it separately, and I want to send it only if the client clicks on the right side. Or do I want to have it there all the time? It's fine. It's a minimal number of data, so I think I can. The only thing is that it should be possible to refresh it, right? But okay, for now, let's do it like this. So the assets actually are pointers, and we will have to recreate the structure. So when we, this is the problem. When I send it to the client, how the hell do I send it, right? In theory, I have to send this because I need the asset ID, I need the category, I need the name, I need the icon, I need the description, and I need the quantity, right? So when I send it to the client, I need all this plus the quantity. Yeah. And I can send the quantity in a separate array. It's not a problem because they are anyway linked by the asset ID, right? So it's fine. But I cannot make up my mind if it's better to keep the quantity here, or it's better to keep the quantity inside of this structure. For now, let's do it like this, and we see if we have to rework it, we will rework it. It seems to be similar to me, right? Because or you do the work on one side or you do it on the other. So seems to be similar. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but at the end, if it works and it has decent performance, I think it's fine. Okay, so we did this, right? We did this. Now we need this. And this is a definition file, right? That is telling us, so this is a definition file. So this definition struct, I mean. And this one is similar to what? This one is asset ID, item stats and need. Well, it's similar to this city resource tiers again. Wait. Yeah, because these are the resources. These are the resources needed. So I have to do it exactly like I did this one. Well, no, this it was kind of different actually. No, it's different. It's different. It's different. It's definitely different. Okay, so we need asset resources. Asset resources definition, right? So what are the resources needed for one asset? Resources needed to build one asset. And this thing is called city asset resource. And city asset resource as the asset ID, so he may have also the asset pointer. He has the asset ID, and he has the item stats and the need. 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 Yes. I don't know if I really need the asset pointer here, because in reality, no, I don't think I need the asset pointer, because this asset resource will, I mean, this thing will be inside my asset definition, right? Will be here. So we will have a T array of that stuff, right? As the resources, right? Resources needed, or resources needed, something like that, right? So we will already have it connected to my city asset. And I don't know if this one also will be sent to the client, how it will be sent to the client. This is the usual mess that I don't know. I don't know if I should remove the pointer and send it directly statically, or if I should keep the pointer and send the resource separately by asset. The way I do it in the other case is the way I do it. The way I do it in the other case, like this one, right, is the left side of the screen, and this one is kind of different though, because I have one of each. FPS resource need. No, I recreated, basically. I recreated when I have to send it. I recreate it all the time when I have to send it. Yeah, you see? I'm recreating it. When I have to send it, I recreate the array. Which is a bit annoying, but considering it's very few entries, I think it's fine. So this will be a pointer, and I recreate the array when I need to send. Right? So this covers this. It should be before, otherwise it doesn't find the definition, I guess. Okay, so we did this guy, right? We did this guy. We did this guy. Now we need to do the storage and the mapping. The storage and the mapping. The mapping. The mapping is which city owns which assets by, well, which city enables which assets by category and tier. Wait a second. I think logically should be the opposite. So should be tier 1 and then asset ID, because what? No. Should be because it's decided in this sequence, right? So we decide we decide the city, we decide the category and the tier, and then we say, oh, inside this tier there is this asset. So in reality, right? The asset is after the tier. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so this table cannot be inside the city. Well, no, it can. It can be inside the city, no? It can be inside the city. And this is what? This is city asset mapping. There is city asset mapping. And city asset mapping doesn't really need the city because we put it inside. And we have category, tier, and asset. Isn't this the same as saying that in my city I have these assets, some of which have a quantity and others do not have a quantity? Isn't that exactly the same? Yes, it is. So, well, the difference is the enablement by tier. The difference is the enablement by tier, which is done by city. Which is done by city. There is a kind of a multi-layered problem, and so I'm trying to understand if I really need a separate struct, right? Because logically it would be the easiest. You create a separate struct that has the asset, the category, and the tier. But then the problem is so the problem here is if I create a structure this way, and this gives me the answer to my problem, right? If I put this array inside the city, like we did for this stuff, right? I could put an array of those things in my city. Isn't that an absolute redundancy with this? Well, it is, except the tier and the category, right? Because city asset is already and is one per city, right? So I cannot duplicate. So this one I'm struggling a bit to understand what is the best way. So there are two ways, as usual. There are two ways to do it, and I'm always struggling which one is the better. If it's better to add inside my FPS CT asset or the category and the tier, or if I want to have a mapping between the assets with the enablement, I think it's cleaner if we keep it separate. I think it's cleaner if we keep it separate, because yes, you can put it all together, but it sounds a bit like a mash up, right? Just for the sake of mashing things up, so... The problem is that also this guy, right, will have to be sent or no? No, this one actually is not sent, because this one will be managed only server side, right? So only server side. When you click on infrastructure, let's say that you click on infrastructure, right? You click on infrastructure and you see, no, not even. You will see it here as a prerequisite, right? So for example, barricades will say prerequisite not met, right? Infrastructure tier 2. And the fact that it's not met, yeah, but anyway, he needs to know it, huh? He needs to know it. So we will need this. Yeah, we will need this anyway. We will need this, and this I think can be also a non-pointer, and this can be sent together with the CT or sent later. I don't know. This pointer, no pointer, I still have to decide it based on how I'm going to send the function. I'm going to send the data in the function and use it on the client side. I think at the moment I'm struggling a bit to think if I want to send it separately. But anyway, it's fine. Either way, we send it, right? Or we send it directly through the CT info like this. It becomes a blueprint type, or we don't, and we send it separately only when you look at the right side of the screen. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Okay, so we have this one, right? We have this one, which is this structure here. And now we need the last one, which is the resource storage. Resource storage. So this one, if we can put it next to the resource definition. What is that? Here. Asset resource, right? There is asset resource, and there is asset resource storage, which basically is how many resources available in the city. And it is not by asset, no? This is by asset. Okay, it is by asset. There is by asset and by city. Yeah, it's by asset and by city. Yeah, correct. It's by asset and by city. So the city, as usual, I can avoid putting it here because anyway we will add an array of this to my city info, right? And the asset Do we need the pointer to the asset? I would say yes. I think we need a pointer to the asset, no? Let's put it there. Then I keep the asset ID so I can send it to the client. Then I need the item stats pointer. But I think I also need then the item ID. Because otherwise, how do I know? Because like here in the resource status, I have the item ID, the item name, the icon, right? Because this is all stuff that I have to visualize. But if it's only the storage, I think I can get the item and the icon from the actual resource need, and then I store only. So yes, I think I need the item ID, client side, right? And then I have the actual storage. Okay, so this is the fifth and last table of this 5, right? Of this 5. And this one will be inside my city info as a resource storage, right? And here I have the same problem if it should be a pointer or not. But I would say no, in this case no, because it's not something that you're going to reuse between cities, right? So we need the pointer only when we are reusing that between cities. So in theory also this one should be not, right? Because we don't really care. We are never going to remove it. This is a hard definition, right? It's done once and we are never going to change this item in the game. We are going to change this, but we're not going to change the mapping. The mapping is static, right? So in theory this one is fixed, and it is asset resources, right? Yeah, it is asset resources. Okay. I don't know why it's not formatting automatically, but fine. Good. So now we have all the categories, all the structures defined, right? We have all the structures defined. So what I want to do, I want to start with this. And this means that in my city manager, and inside load cities, there will be a load assets, right? Now we load the global assets, right? Because these are global assets, and then we load the assets specific to that city. So actually I think we can call it load global city asset, so which is more understandable, right? Because if I call it load city assets, it seems that are the assets of the city, right? But they are not. These are the overall definitions for all the assets that you can use in a city, and this will be definitely kept as an array here. Now, yeah, again, the only question is, do we want to keep it by category or not? But there are not that many, so my suggestion would be not. Right, so here we will have a T array of FPS CT assets. And this will be global assets, right? And we didn't use this inside the city info, correct? No, we used it because, wait, we used it. Because here we load the specific one of the city, yeah. Yeah, we used it. It's correct. It's fine. But we will not use this one, right? We will not use global asset. So we will load only the asset for the city. So, okay. So here what we have to do. Here we have to just have to load that table, right? The same way we load city resource tiers, for example, right? It's exactly the same. I mean, it's similar. It's not the same, but pretty much. Yeah. So it is pretty much like this now. It's not that. Yeah, we don't split by city. But pretty much is this code. I like to just copy paste and see what happens. Just because. So I already have all the structure done. I don't have to rethink it, right? Where is the addition? Okay, this will be global assets, right? So we have to select from city asset definition. And obviously this should be valid, otherwise GG. Then we will start to create an array of wait a second. What is this? All resources. Because here I'm loading also the resources at the same time. So it's like if I'm loading the city assets and their resources, because actually, that is a good point, because actually my assets, right, have the resource needed, right? Yeah. So we're basically loading these as well for each of the assets. Yeah, good point. Good point. We don't need the city. Let me just do this so we are sure that we are not messing up. Right, we're not messing up. So So here we need to do another, right, for each of these rows where we basically get the asset ID. Right? For each of these asset ID, we need to do another query and get what are the resources needed. Right? And this will go here. Right? This will go here. And we'll cycle on each yeah, definitely we need to create a new asset, right? We need to create a new asset. We need to get the asset ID. In our one asset, we can set the asset ID equal to that. Fine. Then we start to gather the resources with this query, and we cycle on this, right? We cycle on this, and we read each line, and for each line we do this, and now inside of this we read, well, we already no, we are not, where asset ID equal to, right, percentage D. Oh, no, I cannot do it here. I have to do an fprintf. Yeah. Where this is equal to my asset ID, right? Okay. So we do that. We read the asset IDs inside of this thing, and we definitely read the item stats. And the item stats ID will be my row res get int of this. Now, I think that here we can actually check if it exists, right? Because if it doesn't, we are really in trouble. So I will have to do a check like this, exactly like this, right? Because if the item is not valid, then we are in trouble. And we set So we have to create a new what? A new city asset resource. We have to create a new city asset resource. Right? And fantastic, it's named the same because I did a copy paste before, and so now it's named the same, which is beautiful. You know what, I'm going to call it the same. So we have now stats ID. We do this, so we can say could not load city asset is an invalid item, blah blah blah. And here we do row res get int item stats ID. Well, it's stats ID, so I wanted to read it again. Stats ID, and we request an exit because this failed, right? If this fails, everything fails. Okay, so basically here we are checking the validity of the item, right? Validity of the item ID, right? So it must be a real item. If it's not a real item, we will bail out. Okay, after this, my resource should go. We don't want to do all this mess about split by city. I think is not what I want. We will not split by city. So we need to create, so we will have a new array, right? Not an array pointer, just an array, which is this all resource, right? And this all resource will go into my so here I will say all resource add, right? I think it's something we were doing here. I don't know exactly what we were doing here, but it's fine. All resource add one resource, right? Which is the new thing that we created. Yes, so now here we have our array with the new resource. Now we have to set few things more though, right? Because here we set only the item and the ID, but there is more than that, right? So at the moment we have set what? We have set, so we have to set the asset ID. The asset ID. Okay, fine. We will set it because probably I want to use this on the client, so that's why I'm doing that. So the asset ID is that asset ID. No, is this asset ID. Right? And I don't know if this is really needed actually, because we are inside the asset anyway. It's an array inside the asset, but fine. And then we set, so we set the item, we set the asset ID, and what else? The need. And the need is actually need. So is row res get int need, no, need, yeah. Okay, so with this we created our new resource. Basically we are reading this table and we know all the resources needed to define one specific asset, right? And this definition we added to all resources. And when this is done, I will have my asset. It is not needed. I will have my one asset, and I will add resource needed equal to my all resources, right? Okay. So this will I don't understand why this is a pointer. I think it's not needed. There is a static definition that will live on this asset forever. It's not that we are gonna update it, change it, share it with other structures, right? Ah, no, wait. This is the... Yeah, exactly. So what we are sharing the item stat, right? But the rest is... yeah, exactly. No, we don't need it. We don't need it as a pointer. It's completely useless to have it as a pointer. It's completely useless. So we don't need to create a new... We just need to define... city asset resource like that. Yeah, I think it's fine. And also, I think we don't need this asset ID. I'm really thinking that this asset ID is completely useless. Because even on the client, right? Let's assume that I'm on the client. I'm sending the resources by... I mean, I'm sending the city asset, and the city asset already has the asset resources inside as a blueprint. So... Exactly. So my asset... So I think we can send this as a property now. The only thing that we have to be sure is that my item is also an ID. Otherwise I will never be able to figure out what is it, right? On the client. So I need an item ID. So yes, item ID is absolutely needed, otherwise we will never figure out what that thing is. Which is basically this thing, right? Which is basically this thing. Okay. So now, yes. Okay, that is better. I think it's taking shape. So here we load. So let's see what we loaded of this asset, right? We loaded the ID, and we loaded the needed resources. Nothing else. Is not enough, because we need category, and then this stuff that we want to send. So the category, we have it, is called asset category. Let me do it before, so because I think it's cleaner. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's complaining because it is okay. But we need also what? Wait a second. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. No, this is okay. Yeah, but this one also has the item stats ID, eh? We have two item stats ID. One is for the resources and one is for the actual item. So actually this check, right? This check is done twice. One for the result res, yes, and one for my guy here. Yes, exactly. So this will be, here I have to be careful, because I may mess up. Let's call it asset stats ID. Asset stats ID, and we go with our result asset, right? And we go with our one asset. No, what? Wait. What the fuck? Okay. Why is complaining about this? Result asset. Ah no, it's a row. Okay. And here we add in our one asset, right? We want to add the name in the description because it's easier. It's easier to keep it because we send it to the client through a blueprint thingy, right? So okay, so of our one asset we populate the asset ID, the asset category, the actual item stat pointer, the actual item stats pointer. I don't know if we also want the item ID, but I would say no because we have the name, the icon, and the description, and I think it's fine. If we really need, we add also the item ID. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll add it later on, but if we don't need it, it's fine. Well, I think we will need it because when we are loading resources on the item, how do we know which item is it, right? So we will have to send it back to the server. So if we do it by name, will take us way more time to actually compare and search, right? So if we let's keep also the item ID. I mean, it's not a big deal. We are not sending a bunch of data, so it's very simple data. So just oops, there is an integer by the way. So let's also add the item ID. And this would be UID. UID is already returning an int. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so of our one asset, we are setting asset ID, category, item as a pointer, item ID, name, description, and here we are setting all the resource needed, right? Here we are setting all the resource needed. So, so we basically loaded all of this and all of this, right? Yes, I think we don't need anything else here. Let me see. No, the only point is this global asset. Yeah, when we exit from this 4, when we so this 4 is for one asset. Is for one asset. So here I need to do this. Global asset. Okay, it's a normal array, it's not a pointer to an array. Okay. Right. Okay, good. That is very good. Okay, that is very good. So I think that this will actually load this will actually load what is this? Okay, so this will basically load all the assets, all the global assets. So assets that are available for the cities and have a specific requirement. Now, the requirements likely are not by city, otherwise it would be a mess, right? So this asset resource definition is not by city. So if you want to build a barricade, the barricade is the same if you build it in Idla or if you build it in Ojaveda, right? It's the same. So it doesn't make any difference. Now, next, I think we can load the actual. Do we associate this to the city? Yeah, we said yes. We said, did we associate? No, we don't associate this to the city. To the city, we have to associate the current asset, so this, right? Yes. And this is this. What? What the fuck? No. I mean, in the city, I have the mapping between my city and the existing and the available assets. and I have the storage of those assets, and I have the resources, but I don't understand why I need this, right? I don't need it in the city. Because this is already answering the same question. What are the available assets for this city? Right? So I don't think I need that. Exactly, right? I don't think I need that. So I need to load the mapping. Now the mapping I loaded for every city, so I will go by city. Right? I will go by city. So here we need a so or we do it inside load cities, or we do it we can also do it separately. So we can say load asset city mapping, right? Load asset city mapping. Yeah, I think it should be like that. It should be named like this, no? So here the loading is very simple. Is only but I have to go by city, right? So I have to run by cities. I'm just searching if there is something I already did which is the same. Yeah, pretty much this. Well, not really, but fine. So I have to cycle by city, right? And yeah, I have to cycle by this value, and I needed to so for each city I have zero willingness to type that. So we select from what? From city asset mapping. We select from city asset mapping where city ID equal to percentage D, which is this thing. Oh, by the way, I just saw that there was a where with an empty clause or what? No? I dreamed of it? Well, actually I copied it, so... No? Okay, fine. I don't know. I think there was a where... No? I dreamed of that. I mean, it's good to dream. Okay, fine. So we select star from city asset mapping where city ID equal to my city ID. And then we do what? I mean, this check is a bit of a stupid check, but let's keep it, right? So if for whatever reason this table is missing, so we didn't load the server properly, it's fine. So this will be my result mapping. I changed the name so that I see what I have to change, right? And then here we go for each of this thing that I'm finding, right? I will create, and by the way, I need to get my city that at this point is already loaded, right? Because the load city asset mapping actually is happening here. Like my other load of the assets should happen here as well, right? So the cities are already loaded. So I need to get my cities by city ID. Right. Yes. And that I can do it before everything. FPS city info pointer one city equal to this shit. Uh-oh, why is not working? One city dot value. What? What do you mean? Huh? You crazy? Ah, because I called it the same. That's why. Because I called one city here, right? So that's one city pair. Yes, exactly. And this is my one city, right? So on my one city, on my one city, I want to define this. The asset mapping, right? The asset mapping is the one that we want to build thanks to this, right? So I basically have to create a new city asset mapping, which is my one mapping, and then I will have to add to asset mapping what? I will have to add to one my city asset mapping add of this one mapping, right? I'm going to create here, and this one mapping is defined with what? No idea. So my one mapping has asset ID, asset ID, asset ID, Para para param. Para para param. Para para param. One of the best video game music. Well, I mean, it's very hard to say which one is the best, but so we have to read our row, and we need to get an int of whatever is the name. No, whatever is the name of this. We called it category. Now, why we don't use EPS? Why exactly? Why we don't use that? Why we don't use this? Why I always say category int, right? Category int, bad idea. Category should always be that thingy, which will now complain, but we cast it to our EPS, whatever. Tier that we called awfully tier, and asset ID that we called awfully asset ID. Yes, exactly. Now the only point is, do I need the asset pointer here, or do I need the asset ID for real? Because I understand that I want to send this to my client, but at the same time we need to validate that asset ID is actually consistent, so it exists, right? Because if it doesn't exist, we bail out, we give an error and bail out, right? So I'm thinking, do we want the asset ID? Yeah, I think 100% we want the asset ID, but at the same time, I think we also want a pointer to the actual asset, right? Because otherwise, if I have to do any kind of validation, or not, maybe not. Asset ID is fine. Okay, so we just validate the asset ID. How do I validate the asset ID? Well, it must be in the global mapping, right? So we have a global assets, right? In global assets, we have to find global asset is what? Global asset is what is global asset? Is an array. I can find what? I can find my there is an array of CT assets, right? So I need to find. I think we need a function because it will be easier, right? We can do get global asset by ID, something like that, right? I think it would be a good idea. We create a function that does that for us, and we only use it here. I mean, this function should probably not be used for anything else, but I think it's fine. Right, and this will for loop on all our FPS asset, CT asset pointers, one asset, and taken from our global assets, yes, and we will check that if one asset ID equal to asset ID, Then we return, well, we have to do two things actually. We have to break and we have to return. But if I return, I break automatically, right? Yeah, exactly. Stupid me. Stupid. We have to return one asset ID. Or we return yes. Or we return the, sorry, we return the asset. We return the asset. Yeah, that was the original idea. Then I fucked up. Okay. We return the asset. We return the asset. Easy. No. I didn't have it in the copy paste. Yeah, we only use it for consistency, right? We don't use this for anything else. We don't use this for anything else. And if we don't find it, we return null pointer. Okay, so now we have our get global asset ID. Very nice. So we can say that if my get global asset ID is not found, right, we want to return false. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that this thing that I have here is not really great. Because basically I'm doing this, but if I find multiple errors, right, I will have to do this multiple times, and it is a pretty bad idea. I mean, I'm okay with the error, right? That we give a specific error, but I think that the exit from the thing, bah, maybe not. Maybe it's fine. Okay. So we can say could not load city asset mapping because the asset percentage D is not defined, or it doesn't exist. Yeah, exactly. Die. And this will be one mapping asset ID. Fine. So basically this is loading, is setting the category, the tier, the asset ID, is validating it, and is adding this asset to the mapping. Now, the way we are going to use this, I'm not completely sure yet, but I think it will be fairly easy. So we go by asset ID, we check if the asset ID actually is mapped to a specific tier, and we check if the city has that tier. So it's not super easy, but I would say... Okay. No, wait a second, there is a mistake. One city asset mapping add. Do we do it this way? So we point directly to this. Okay. No, because the way we were doing it before was right? The way we were doing it before was like this. I mean, it's probably the same, but so we create an array, right? This array is called all mappings. Then we were adding Then we were doing all mappings, add one mapping, right? And then outside of this 4, we were saying when we are done for this city, no, I deleted it. Oh. When we are done for this city, we do asset mapping equal to all mappings, right? Which is basically the same, but I think it's a bit cleaner, no? Or no? I don't know. I mean, here is copying a value, and it is copying a value anyway, so I think the amount of work that it's doing is the same. Probably. You mean sometimes you make mistakes? Only sometimes. Yeah, I make mistakes, but the important point is not making mistakes. The important is fixing them quick enough, you know, that no one notices, and then you are good. Okay. So it is loading also all the city asset mapping. So basically we loaded all of this. So we have 3 tables out of 5 done. Now the storage. The storage, do we load it? The storage, right? The storage is this one, yes. The storage is here. The storage of the assets. Hey, we also need to load this, for sure. We need to load this, and we need to load it by city again. So we have the same thing. So we will have a load city storage. We have two more to go. This one, another one. Load asset city storage. Oh yes. And this one is another one that goes in this part where we load everything, right? Basically, when city manager starts, we load all the stuff. This one is very similar to the one that we did just a second ago, because it goes by city. So my suggestion is that we copy it completely, and then we see what to change. So for each city it is the same, we extract our city is the same, but now here we load a completely different table. And where city equal to that, and here we have our result storage. Our result storage goes here. If we cannot load it, we GG out, and then we load all storage for this city. Okay, so what the hell do we have to create? We have to create the FPS city asset storage. And this all storage. And this one will be asset storage, and here I will have my result storage. Okay, now here the differences are that this thing is obviously this, and now one storage has obviously completely different attributes. So he has the city ID, but we don't care. He has the asset ID and the quantity. So the asset ID is the same. The asset ID is the same, yes. And then what? And then the quantity. Okay. Yeah, logically this one is after that one. Okay, so we do this, and this. Do we have to validate the asset? Yeah, we have to validate the asset ID exactly in the same way. Why I have a deja vu? Well, we have a deja vu because this is actually the storage of that asset. This is the mapping of that asset. So it's normal that we have to validate it. So yes, we will do the same, and we will say cannot load city asset storage because the asset does not exist. And we will go one storage asset ID. Yeah, this part of the code is nearly identical, but it's doing a completely different thing. I mean, logically it's completely different, but the loading, you know, is basically identical. Okay, and then we set this to our city storage. Nice. All of this will be used on the client, right? So at the moment we are just loading data, loading a bunch of data to then use it on the client. Is 11:56. Okay, well, we wrote a lot of code, so it's not bad. Why there is an error here? Because it's asset stats ID. Okay, so we loaded this one, this one, this one, and this one. We are only missing this one, which is the last, right? We are only missing this. So these are the resources that are stored, not the asset, so not the ballista, right? Not the ballista, but the iron ore. So there is the iron ore stored, and actually it's stored by asset. It is stored by asset. Yes, it is. It is because we want people to be able to... That's a very good question, right? But I think I already answered this question. So the question is... The question is this, right? But I think I answered this question already, and I know the answer, but... So let's say that we are building our ballista, right? And the ballista is costing 10 iron ore, 100 wood, and I don't know, 10 ropes, whatever, right? So this is the cost of this thing. And then we have a catapult, right? A catapult. We have a catapult. This one, right? Which is also similar enough in colors, well, somehow, some way. And this one is costing, I don't know, 20 stones, right? 20 stones, 100 wood, well, 200 wood, and 5 ropes for whatever reason, right? So these are the cost. These are the cost. So one player decides to collect wood, right? Decides to collect wood. And so the player is... so the player contributes wood, right? So this is the player. This is the player, right? So he brings 90 wood, okay? He brings 90 wood to the city. Do we want, this is a very important question, boys. Do we want this wood to go in one of these two places? So that basically he's saying, I'm bringing wood to build a ballista, or I'm bringing wood to build a catapult, or do we want, right, or, wow, this or is not very nice, or do we want him to bring the wood into a generic storage, right? And the generic storage is a storage that can then be used to build whatever we want. So this or this. Now you may say, why you ask this question? Well, I asked this question because it's very different game mechanic, right? So in option 1, you decide, the player decides what to build. Player decides what to build, right? So this is the option 1. Player decides what to build. I mean, what is contributing for, right? Decides what is contributing to. While in option 2, is not the player that decides, but is whoever later on builds that particular asset, right? But it means that we introduce a new mechanic, which is someone else deciding at a certain point that we have enough materials and we build a ballista. So maybe you brought the wood for the catapult and someone else is building ballista. Then you go back, 3 days later, and you find that he built something completely different, and you say, fuck, why you did that? I bring the material for this, right? So I think it's nicer to have this way, because the player decides, the player that brings the material decides where they will be used. Now you may say, this guy has just a question mark in his head, and so he has no idea what he's contributing to. And so basically he's putting it in the wrong place, and no one will use that. So maybe he's building 1000 ballista and 0 catapults, and then we will have a shortage of catapult just because there is a brainless guy. True, but he's the one that brought the materials, right? So my point is that I would like the storage to be by asset. So the storage to be by asset, right? So that's my current thinking. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but that is what I think. That is what I think. Do you have an opinion on that? Yes, no, maybe. Yes, no, maybe. Okay, so with that assumption, you may still answer if you want, but I would take the assumption that is done versus a single thing, right? With that assumption, we need to load resource city storage, right? Load city resource storage, right? City asset. Why I called it asset city instead of city asset? I don't know. I called it asset city storage instead of city asset storage. City asset city. No, because asset city mapping is correct because it's the mapping on the city, but this one is the storage of the asset, not the storage of the city. So I think I will change it. Okay, so here we will have load city resource storage. Load city resource storage. Yeah, exactly. Load city resource storage. Why was complaining that this was not defined? Okay, now it's saying it's defined. Just a matter of seconds. Okay, so this thing should load another table. What a news. Should load another table, and in this case we need to validate both the asset ID and the item stats ID, and then we need to load the quantity. So it's similar to when we loaded city asset resource definition, with the difference that now we have the storage instead of the need, and we have in addition the asset ID. Holy fuck. Yeah, but this is very different. No, because I want to go by city, eh? I want to go by city. Yeah, this will be a bit different, actually. Because... Okay, so we load this. So this is the result storage. Okay, let's call it result storage. It's fine. Now, city resource. No. City asset resource storage. Yeah, that is the monster name. That is the monster name. And city asset resource storage. Okay, but here things are a bit different because we load the asset ID, correct. We load the actual storage, correct. We validate the asset ID, correct. Correct. And we but then there is more stuff, right? Because there is the item stats. So we have to take one item stats validation that we have somewhere here. Yes. And it's called item stats ID. Yeah, it's called item stats ID. And okay. Yes, and this will be one city asset resources. Wow, that was easy. After I did it 5 times, this one was easy. Basically, these functions are all the same. They read from a table, they have to go by city, they have to validate asset and storage, and then they have like one different line, right? Unfortunately, I don't think there is a better way to do it. So this code is kind of repeated with small variations, right? But You may say, oh, that is shit, you could have created a function that does this. Well, maybe. I mean, the one that I could have done, but you know, they have different attributes. They are not, I mean, they are similar, but they have different attributes. Like this one is quantity, this one is a storage, this one is item ID, right? This one doesn't. This one is category, right? So they are slightly different. I have looking back to see what is the question. I prefer the storage. I don't know how the item are used after and by you, but I prefer the storage. Okay. So you prefer the storage because you basically want to bring the material without thinking what you want to build, you know. But the difference, but the difference is this, Ula, and I think is a good point, but I didn't explain you everything because if he goes into the storage, there are at least two problems. One, then another player may use your stuff to build something else. And maybe you want to build a ballista, and so you want to go back. No, I cannot reverse it. That's so bad. Okay, I cannot reverse it. Anyway, you want to go back, so the other way, right? You want to go back this way with the ballista, right? You want to carry the ballista with you, right? You want to carry the ballista with you. So I think that the point is, I mean, it's true that someone else can build a ballista and steal it because there is a common repository, right? But at the same time, I think if you want to build a ballista because you have something in mind, and someone then just builds a catapult, not only he used your materials, but also he used it for something different. So I think you will be upset 2 times. I think that the town choose what. Yeah, this we still need to figure out. But no, I don't think it's the town. I think it's the player. But it's not defined. It's not fully defined. I have to think about it. I think that you will say, oh, I want to build. But I have to think about it. I don't have the answer yet. But I think that you say, oh, you know what? We are exploring the stone labyrinths, right? We are exploring the stone labyrinths and yeah, and we started here, right? We started here. There is the stone labyrinths. I want to build an outpost here, right? No, fuck that. The menu is another menu. I want to build an outpost here. And in this outpost that I want to build, I want to carry 1 ballista, 1 catapult, 1 trap, 1 wall, you know, another trap. So I want to build a small city, a small outpost here. So the player will actually bring that there, or will set a destination. Then I don't know yet. Maybe we'll set a destination, right? During a long time I was thinking this is a picture of a dog. How can this be a dog? Maybe just the upper part? Yeah, it could be. No, these are the labyrinths. This is a dungeon, right? This is a dungeon. So in this dungeon, right? In this dungeon, you want to... Now, the ballista is not a very good example, right? Because you don't bring a ballista in a dungeon. But maybe you bring a trap, right? maybe another item is a trap, right? That requires 100 metal, right? And 2 chains, I don't know. Right? So you want to build it. You want to build it in the city, and then you want to bring it here. And maybe you want to bring, I don't know, 10 of them, right? We want to bring 10 of them. And so if you bring 10 of them, then you have to build them collectively with many players. And so in the city, you bring all the materials. You bring all the materials, and then at a certain day you say, oh, now we create all these freaking things. But anyway, I think it's better if it's here. I think it's better. I think it's better. I think it's better. Now I'm not sure because I didn't finish this thing. I didn't play it. I don't know exactly how we will play. But yeah, that's the idea. Okay guys, it's too late now, but we finished all the loading. So what we did, we created the database structure. We created all the definitions here. So all the struct, we created all the data model to support our thing. And we also created all the loading functions that can read from the database all the data, right? So now the next step that we will do, not tomorrow but Saturday, will be to actually use all this data in the right side of this window that we didn't touch yet. So now all the data will go here, okay? And then when we finish that, we have to decide the bonuses, and we have to start to apply the bonuses, and then we can use it. But there is still a bit to do. I mean, it's still, this thing is big, I tell you. This thing is big. It's big. It's a little monster. Okay. Thank you for watching. If you want to click on follow on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube, that's a good idea. Also remember that our game is available to be downloaded and played, and it's a free game. We accept donations, and you can become a Patreon if you want. And it's released for Windows, Linux and Mac, so you can play it right now if you want. The server is up. Bye. Bye.